Hello, I'm the Gallifreyan Ravenclaw. So I haven't done a review of episode 6 of Flux. This is more a general just everything in the whole of Flux and lots of unanswered questions at the end. So obviously in the finale they tried to wrap up most endings, including all the characters joining together and helping in the different sections, but we still didn't get answers to a lot of questions. So there's the ones that are obvious, like the fact that time's sentient and all the stuff with the Doctor's memories and the fob watch. But there's other smaller ones that seem to have just been sort of forgotten about. So to start with, my one from episode 1, the Scandinavian man who was with Azure. We never found out who he was, so we never heard anything about him again, and we don't even know if he was really human or if he was a different species, and they appeared to both not have full memories of who they were. Certainly Azure didn't know who she was, and so was it some sort of equivalent of the fob watch had happened to her, but how come she got her memories back so quickly? And just they clearly knew someone was going to contact them because they were expecting that floating thing, but we don't know who or what they thought that was from, and if they thought it was from Division, and if they both just thought they were humans, and how long they'd been living there even, because the Swarm said about they'd been for centuries. Swarm said that they'd been in prison for centuries, so had they literally been living in this same house for 1,000 years? I think someone might have noticed that there was two people who lived in the same house for 1,000 years and never aged. So at the end with Division, the Ood seemed to be the only surviving member of Division who wasn't in that containment thing, unless you count the Doctor and Carbonista, who obviously are both ex-Division members. So what's happened to Division now? Has it closed down? Is the Ood just going to continue maintaining the place? Oods are a race that tend to serve, so he would need orders, but there doesn't seem to be anyone to give him orders anymore. The Doctor had said in, I think it was episode 5, about everything that had been compressed being decompressed or uncompressed. Right, so restoring all the galaxies that had already been destroyed. Well, we didn't see her do that or even attempt to do that. So is she going to go back to Division and try and do that? Or are they gone forever? I said before, we don't actually know where Vinder and Bell's home planet is, if they're the same planet or not, even what species they are, because there didn't seem to be any time travel involved, so they can't be human. But we don't know what their planet is, if it's the same planet, their species, anything really about them. And obviously the Grand Serpent, what was his organisation, how many planets did he control, where were the planets he controlled, have we heard of any of them before, what even was the nature of his organisation. He seemed to be a sort of self-proclaimed king, but how did that start? Was Vinder just in his military, or was it sort of he was just one of his soldiers? So sort of how the Grand Serpent's organisation worked, and obviously what happened to get him exiled or make him run away and join the Sontarans. At the end of the final episode, Theron was back in the museum and was telling the tourists that the tunnels were still being excavated. But do the doors still work? Because you can't have them being excavated and tourists going down there if those doors still work and open to all those places. So have they now been destroyed, or is the Doctor just going to go and seal them up and try and stop that at all? And then we saw all Cybermen, Daleks and Sontarans being destroyed, so they're all gone. Were all Cybermen, Daleks and Sontarans destroyed, or have we got another Cult of Skaro situation where there's some that survived and we'll see them again? Well, obviously there are some in the New Year special, but there were differences with those that were quite obvious, so we don't know where they came from. And then obviously the Doctor hid the fob watch in the TARDIS to avoid the temptation of opening it and seeing her lost memories. But obviously at some point that will need to be addressed, and we will need to see what's there, learn how many other regenerations other than the Roof Doctor did work for Division, and maybe she'll even remember what happened before Tecteum found her by that wormhole, whether she came through it or her birth family. Finally, we saw Kate was still working even though she'd had to fake her death to stop the Grand Serpent finding her, and UNIT had been disbanded. So is she now going to reform UNIT? And how is she going to do that? Because she'd have to make the point that it is still worthwhile, because she can't exactly say, oh well, it's fine, the guy who closed it down was an alien. That's going to be quite hard to prove. So back onto the next time, there was obviously Daleks in that, and from the advert as well, it seems that the two characters are stuck in a time loop with Daleks, which is obviously not a very fun place to be. But the Dalek shooting on the next time seemed to have a circle with them all the way round and spinning round, which is certainly different. So what version of Daleks these are is the question we need to find out the answer to. I'll probably do a review on that episode within a couple of days of it, but until then, bye!